when life becomes an endless battle of reactions. Have you ever noticed how quickly a peaceful moment can spiral into chaos when someone directs their anger toward you? One moment you're centered and calm. The next you're caught in a whirlwind of defensive reactions, counterattacks, or desperate attempts to escape the emotional storm. It's as if invisible strings suddenly attach to your nervous system, pulling you into a dance you never chose to join. This phenomenon reveals something profound about human consciousness. We are constantly being invited into reactive patterns that keep us trapped in cycles of emotional ping pong. Someone throws anger at us, we catch it and throw it back, often with interest. Someone projects their frustration, and we either absorb it or deflect it, but rarely do we simply allow it to pass through us like light through clear glass. We've been conditioned to believe that every emotional provocation requires a response, that every challenge demands a defense. But what if there's another way? What if the very moment when someone's anger seeks to hook into your energy field is actually an invitation to step into a completely different dimension of being? What if non-reaction isn't passive submission, but rather the most powerful form of conscious action available to us? The trap lies in our unconscious belief that we must engage with every emotional energy that comes our way. We've been taught that silence equals weakness, that not defending ourselves means we're doormats, that failing to react means we don't care. But these beliefs keep us imprisoned in patterns that drain our life force and prevent us from accessing our deepest wisdom. This exploration will reveal how the practice of non-reactive presence can become your gateway to freedom, not just from others' emotional storms, but from the unconscious patterns that keep you trapped in cycles of suffering. You'll discover that in the space of non-reaction lies a power more transformative than any argument you could win or any defense you could mount. The invisible prison of automatic response. When someone approaches you with anger, something fascinating happens in the invisible realm of energy. Their emotional state creates what we might call a resonance field, a vibrational frequency that seeks matching frequencies to sustain itself. It's like a tuning fork that, when struck, causes other tuning forks of the same frequency to vibrate in sympathy. The angry person's energy field is essentially broadcasting a signal. Join me in this frequency. Match my intensity. Feed this fire. Your nervous system, evolved over millions of years to detect and respond to threats, immediately picks up this signal. Within milliseconds, before your conscious mind even registers what's happening, your body begins preparing for battle, flight, or freeze. Stress hormones flood your system. Your heart rate increases. Your muscles tense. Your breathing becomes shallow. You're no longer present in the moment. You've been hijacked by an ancient survival program that sees emotional intensity as physical danger. But here's what's truly remarkable. This entire cascade of reactions happens automatically below the threshold of conscious awareness. You don't choose to get defensive. You don't decide to feel attacked. You don't consciously elect to match their energy with your own reactive energy. It simply happens as automatically as your knee jerks when tapped with a reflex hammer. In that moment, you become unconscious, not in the sense of losing awareness, but in the sense of losing choice. This unconsciousness is the invisible prison. You believe you're responding to the situation, but actually, the situation is responding through you. You think you're defending yourself, but you're actually defending a collection of conditioned patterns that have nothing to do with who you truly are. You imagine you're being strong, but you're actually being controlled by forces you don't even recognize. The person expressing anger toward you is also trapped in this same unconscious pattern. Their anger isn't really about you. It's about their own unresolved pain-seeking expression, their own nervous system dysregulation seeking discharge, their own unconscious patterns seeking validation through your reaction. When you react, you validate their unconscious belief that the world is a hostile place that requires defensive aggression. When you don't react, something entirely different becomes possible. Non-reaction, in its truest form, is not suppression or denial. It's not gritting your teeth and bearing it. It's not pretending you don't feel anything. True non-reaction is a state of such complete presence that you can feel everything. Their anger, your own impulse to react, the energy moving through the space between you without being compelled to do anything about it. You become like space itself, vast enough to contain all phenomena without being disturbed by any of it. In this state of spacious awareness, you begin to see the anger for what it truly is, not a personal attack, but a manifestation of suffering seeking resolution. You see your own reactive impulses not as commands that must be obeyed, but as conditioned responses that can be observed and allowed to pass. You recognize that the entire drama is happening within consciousness itself, and that you have the choice to participate or simply witness. This witnessing consciousness is your true nature, not the reactive personality that gets triggered, not the defensive ego that feels attacked, but the aware presence that can observe all of these phenomena with compassion and clarity. When you rest in this awareness, you're no longer at the mercy of others' emotional states. You're no longer a victim of your own conditioned responses. You've stepped out of the unconscious dance of reaction and counterreaction into a space of genuine freedom. From this space, if action is needed, it arises not from reactivity, but from wisdom. If words need to be spoken, they come not from defensiveness, but from clarity. If boundaries need to be set, they emerge not from fear, but from love. This is the difference between reaction and response. Reaction is unconscious and automatic, while response is conscious and chosen. If these insights are resonating with your own experience of emotional reactivity, click the subscribe button and join our community of conscious practitioners. Your support helps us continue sharing these transformative teachings with others who are ready to break free from unconscious patterns. Practice developing the witness consciousness. In the first week of practice, your primary focus is simply becoming aware of your automatic reactive patterns. This isn't about changing anything yet. It's about developing the capacity to observe your own internal responses without judgment. Choose a relatively calm day to begin this practice when you're not dealing with major stressors or conflicts. Start by setting an intention each morning to notice your reactions throughout the day. Pay particular attention to moments when someone's tone of voice, facial expression, or words trigger an automatic response in your body. Notice the physical sensations that arise, the tightening in your chest, the clenching of your jaw, the quickening of your heartbeat, the shallow breathing. Don't try to change these responses. Simply observe them with the curiosity of a scientist studying a fascinating phenomenon. When you notice a reactive pattern emerging, silently say to yourself, "I notice I'm having a reaction right now." This simple acknowledgement creates a gap between the stimulus and your response, a moment of conscious awareness in what would otherwise be an unconscious cascade of reactions. In that gap lies your freedom. The pause practice. During the second week, introduce the practice of the conscious pause. When you feel the familiar surge of reactive energy rising within you, whether it's defensiveness, anger, hurt, or the urge to justify yourself, take a deliberate pause before speaking or acting. This pause doesn't need to be long. Even 3 conscious breaths can create enough space for wisdom to emerge. In this pause, Place your attention on your breathing rather than on the content of your thoughts or the intensity of your emotions. Feel your feet on the ground. Notice the space around your body. Allow your awareness to expand beyond the narrow focus of the reactive mind. This isn't about suppressing your feelings, but about creating enough space to choose your response rather than being driven by automatic patterns. If you're in conversation with someone when this reactive energy arises, you can simply say, "Let me take a moment to consider what you've said." Most people will respect this request, and those who don't are revealing their own unconscious patterns. Use this moment to return to your center, to reconnect with your deeper wisdom, to remember who you truly are beyond your reactive personality. Embodying spacious presence. After 2 weeks of basic practice, you're ready to explore the deeper dimension of non-reactive presence. This involves cultivating what we might call spacious awareness, a state of consciousness that is vast enough to contain all experiences without being disturbed by them. Begin each day with 10 minutes of sitting quietly, eyes closed, simply resting in awareness itself. Don't try to meditate or achieve any particular state. Simply sit and notice that you are aware. Notice that thoughts come and go within this awareness. Notice that emotions arise and pass away within this awareness. Notice that sounds appear and disappear within this awareness. Gradually, you'll begin to recognize that this awareness itself is never disturbed by anything that appears within it. Throughout your day, remember this spacious awareness. When someone approaches you with anger or frustration, instead of contracting around their energy, consciously expand your awareness. Imagine yourself as the sky and their anger as a passing storm cloud. The sky is never damaged by the storm. It simply provides the space within which the storm can move and eventually dissipate. This practice of spacious presence transforms not only your experience, but also the energy field around you. When you remain centered and spacious in the face of someone's anger, you're no longer feeding their reactive pattern with your own reactivity. Their anger, finding no resistance to push against and no matching energy to amplify it, begins to lose its momentum and transform naturally. If you're already noticing shifts in how you respond to emotional triggers, hit that like button and subscribe for the advanced practices I'm about to share. Only 18% of people who experience these profound insights actually commit to the deeper work. Don't let this opportunity for transformation slip away. Advanced integration, living as conscious response. After a month of consistent practice, you're ready to explore the most subtle and powerful aspect of this work, living as conscious response rather than unconscious reaction. This means that every interaction becomes an opportunity to practice presence. Every challenge becomes an invitation to deepen your awareness. Every moment of potential reactivity becomes a doorway to greater freedom. At this level, you're no longer just managing your reactions. You're living from a fundamentally different place. You've discovered that your true nature is not the reactive personality that gets triggered, but the aware presence that can witness all phenomena with compassion and wisdom. From this place, your responses to life arise spontaneously from love rather than fear, from wisdom rather than conditioning, from freedom rather than compulsion. When someone directs anger toward you, you might find yourself responding with unexpected compassion, seeing through their anger to the pain beneath it. You might discover that the perfect words arise naturally, words that defuse the situation without creating more conflict. You might simply remain silent, your peaceful presence alone creating the space for transformation to occur. This isn't a technique you apply. It's a way of being you embody. It's not something you do. It's something you are. And paradoxically, the less you try to be non-reactive, the more naturally non-reactive presence flows through you. You've stopped fighting the river and learned to move with its deeper current. Living the teaching. The ultimate practice is recognizing that every moment of your life is an opportunity to embody this teaching. Every interaction with family members, colleagues, strangers, and even your own thoughts and emotions becomes a chance to practice conscious presence. You begin to see that the person who triggers you most is often your greatest teacher, showing you exactly where you still have unconscious patterns to illuminate. You discover that non-reactive presence is not a destination you reach, but a way of traveling through life. Each day brings new opportunities to choose consciousness over unconsciousness, presence over reactivity, love over fear. And with each conscious choice, you're not only transforming your own experience, you're contributing to the collective awakening of human consciousness. Your non-reactive presence becomes a gift to the world, a silent teaching that demonstrates another way of being. Without saying a word, without giving advice, without trying to change anyone, you become a living example of what's possible when we step out of the unconscious dance of reaction and into the conscious dance of response. The ripple effect of conscious presence. What begins as a personal practice of non-reactivity gradually reveals itself to be something far more profound, a contribution to the healing of human consciousness itself. When you refuse to participate in the unconscious patterns of reaction and counterreaction, you're not just changing your own experience, you're interrupting collective patterns that have been perpetuated for generations. Every time you choose presence over reactivity, you're casting a vote for a different way of being human. You're demonstrating that it's possible to remain centered in the face of chaos, peaceful in the midst of conflict, loving in the presence of anger. Your non-reactive presence becomes a beacon of possibility, showing others that there is indeed another way to live. This is not about becoming perfect or never feeling triggered. It's about developing the capacity to feel everything while being enslaved by nothing. It's about discovering that your true power lies not in your ability to control others or circumstances, but in your ability to remain conscious regardless of what's happening around you. In this consciousness, you find a freedom that every human heart seeks, the freedom to be yourself, fully and authentically, regardless of others' reactions or expectations. The practice of non-reactive presence is ultimately a practice of love. Love for yourself, love for others, and love for the process of awakening itself. In choosing consciousness over unconsciousness, presence over reactivity, you're participating in the greatest adventure available to human beings. The journey from unconscious reaction to conscious response, from automatic patterns to authentic choice, from emotional slavery to spiritual freedom. Now I want to hear from you in the comments. Are you ready to stop being controlled by others' emotional storms and start living from your own center of peace? If this teaching speaks to your soul, write in the comments, I choose conscious presence. Let's create a community of awakened beings who support each other in this beautiful transformation.